Hi everyone, my name is David Robbins. I'm Technical Account Manager for Wakanda, the data-driven JavaScript development stack for building business applications. I work out here in San Jose office with Lyle Troxel, our super cool developer advocate. And today I'd like to talk about jQuery UI. So why would I want to talk about jQuery UI if I'm Technical Account Manager for Wakanda? It is because jQuery UI is one of the libraries that Wakanda loads on the client side that is available for you as a developer to use. And I've set up an example of using one of the widgets in jQuery UI, autocomplete. Let's go take a look at the example. So I have a simple Wakanda model, some companies, people, and states. And I've built a page here with a simple input form, and I want to hook up autocomplete. So if I look at the onload event handler for our page, let's go take a look. So step one, let's have some fun. And there is an input field called states input right here. ID states input. I want to set up autocomplete for that. So jQuery is loaded on the client, so I can reference my input field, get a jQuery reference, and then I have access to the autocomplete method. Autocomplete method wants an object for a parameter, and at the very minimum we need a source property. Source property will refer to our array that we want the user to see. So there you go, and let's go try that. So I got to set up in the browser right here, and I was doing a little testing earlier. Let's try this. So type something in, and there you go. Sweet, it is working, and it's just that simple. Let's go back. Step one is done. Step two, let's see what a function can do. So I'm going to show you another option of autocomplete. We're still referencing, get a jQuery reference to our states input field. We have autocomplete, and we have our source property. But now, instead of referencing the array directly, it's going to reference a callback function. Whenever the user types, this function will be called. We will be passed in whatever the user typed in the request parameter. Response is a function. That's what it wants here. It wants a callback function. When we have the data ready, we are supposed to call this function. So in this simple case, we're going to call this function and just return our pass in simple array again. And in fact, I'm going to make a state called David and a state called Lyle, just so you can see that this is really working. Okay, let's go back to our example, reload our page, and let's look at our state. There we go, David and Lyle, the 51st and 52nd states of the union, and everything's working cool. Our callback function is working. As you remember from our model, I have loaded up a data class with the US Postal Service abbreviations for the states, and I have a public data class method that I'm going to call that will take a term, whatever the user has typed in, do a query on the states, and return an array. So let's go back to our script here. So step three, can we get data from the server? Let's see. So we still have our jQuery reference to our input field for the states, and we're calling the jQuery autocomplete. And here's our source property calling our callback function. This time, when our callback function gets called, we are going to call our getStates data class method. We're going to pass in the user input. When the data class method returns with our data, it will return here in this callback, and our data will be in our event object. So once that callback returns, we're going to call our response function and pass it the data. Our data will be here in event.result. It will not be exactly in the format that autocomplete wants it, and so we'll use the array map function to just return the attribute of USPS. Those are the abbreviations. So now we should have access to all the states. Let's save it. Go take a look. And here we go. There's all the A's. We got some C's, D, any letter we want, Hawaii, Texas, my home state, Washington, and everything is beautiful. Now, a few weeks ago I met with Laurent, the founder, creator, visionary, and super cool guy who invented Wakanda, and he showed me something really cool that I want to show you. So let's comment this out. And step 4, with some help from Laurent, we shut the door on this example. This is really cool. So I'm just going to comment this out for now. So what Laurent showed me is there's another way you can get the data to source. You can pass it a path to a request handler on some server. And so that's what Laurent showed me how to do. So we have set up a request handler, and I'm going to show you that. So here is our bootstrap file where on the server, we add a request handler. It's going to match any requests coming in with this signature here. This is a regex pattern, a pretty simple one. And when anything comes in matching this pattern, we are going to go look here for this function. This bootstrap runs at startup because we've set it as the active bootstrap. And it doesn't really matter that we call it bootstrap. You could call it chinstrap, you could call it jockstrap, just as long as you set it as the bootstrap. So let's go look at this function. This will sit here waiting for any requests that get routed to it. Our user input will be inside of here, and we have some nice easy methods to break this apart. We got some properties for our URL. Once we get the URL, we can get the path, and we can get our parameters from the path. There will be our class name and attribute. These will be class names that match our model and attributes that match our model also. From that, we can compose a query. You can see here that we're going our data store object, and we're referencing the class name in this fashion, the kind of array way to do it. You're most likely used to seeing it like this, but as you know, in JavaScript, you can reference properties this way, and that makes it dynamic, so we can pass in that class name instead of having it hard-coded. And then once we get the query, we do a toArray of our attribute that we pass in, and we basically loop through that array and get this result object in the form that jQueryUI would like it, and we set that in our response body, and when this function is done, it will return this response body. So let's go take a look at how that works. So in my page here, I have two fields, first name input, a last name input. I would like to set up, let's set up first, sorry about that. Let's set up first, get a reference to first name, call autocomplete, and we will call our request handler, passing in our data class of person, attribute first name. So let's go see how that works. Refresh our page, and now I can type in sweet, and this works very nice. Look at that. Now if we go to last name, nothing going on. Look how easy it would be to set that up with our, hey, I have a call here. I got enough time to finish this. So we reference our last name input, and it's easy. All we have to do is same data class, different attribute. Bam, save it. And now, look, working. So that's sweet. So now we have a request handler. So easy to set up autocomplete based on any attribute of any data class on our server. Thank you, Laurent. So this project here, with all this jQuery UI autocomplete stuff, is here on my GitHub, github.com/DavidRobbins, and there's, don't forget jQuery UI. There's also a bunch of other stuff here if you want to take a look, and that's jQuery UI. Don't forget it when you're doing your Wakanda project. So all you Wakanda developers, have fun. I've been David Robbins, and thanks for listening.